Hi guys, welcome to another video from Overbite Gaming. I am Snare, welcome, thank you for joining, thank you for tuning in, because you've tuned into the internet, don't you fucking idiot. What I wanted to say today was, you know that what the video is about, you can see the title, but I wanted to introduce you to a little toy that Snare has. I'm one of those people that's lucky enough to have a little bit put aside to buy toys when I want them, because I guess I get paid enough in my job that I can do this kind of thing. Now that's one of my biggest things about Oculus Rift, is the price point. It's £550, which I think from the classic $1 for $1 to pound ratio, I thought it'd be about 400 quid. But no, it's a 1 for 1. So you're actually paying over the odds for the actual equipment. And I wanted to see if the Oculus Rift was better than the Gear VR, which I have tried and we've had a little play around with. Check out the LP, the Let's Play of Keep Talking Nobody Explodes. We did that with the Gear VR. Very, very fun. Excellent fun to film. It was really, really cool. But I wanted just to show you a couple of things. So the box that you get is not this thin. Okay, this is just the cover. This is the Oculus Rift. I will go through a nice big normal close-up in a second. But I wanted just to say that the Oculus Rift itself is something that it needs to be accessible for it to win. Not against the others, but virtual reality in general. The Gear VR is a perfect way for people to get involved, and I reckon they're using that as a bit of a stepping stone in getting mugs like me on board. The hand controllers are not out yet, certainly in this country. We've only got the headset. I'll show you quickly the headset, which is this bad boy. I know I'm wearing a black t-shirt, it was a silly idea, but here we are. Here is the actual headset. It's actually not that heavy. I think it's about 400 grams or something like that. I have to look that up. If it's wrong, I'll stick something up there. But you can see the lenses are nice, quite big lenses. We'll get involved in the close-up stuff, but I just wanted to mention a few things about the device. Let's just get to it. Boom! Okay guys, now this might sound a bit strange because I'm kneeling underneath my camera to look at the Oculus Rift and show you a bit more up close. So, as I said, it comes with a remote and it comes with a sensor stand and the Xbox 360 controller, but I'm still rocking it old school and using my Xbox 360, which was donated to me by Lee. What a lovely person. So, what I wanted to go over is the actual main headset itself. Now, excuse me if I knock the camera. This is going to be extremely unprofessional. You're not even going to see my face, just my hands. So, the actual headset itself, you can see we have the lenses, nice big old lenses, a little bit mucky in there. Should probably clean those, but they're not too bad. The actual headset itself, as I said, is quite light on the head. You can see it's starting to look like I've been grabbing it and using it. My skanky hands. It's actually secured by these Velcro strips on the side, which have some kind of give to them. So when you're actually putting the headset on and kind of rearranging it, you can actually kind of pull it out a little bit to get it over your head, and then it's in place. You can see it kind of has that kind of head shape there with the overhead piece. Now, one thing I will say is that after using this for a while, this foam section does tend to give you a bit of a Kylo Ren face. It's hard to explain. If I can get a picture of it after I've used it this evening, I will do. But basically this, because it's comfortable to have it on fairly tight, but that foam is only going to get you so far. I'm trying to give it so you can actually see it rather than being so dark. Now this button down here, it changes the position of the lenses, which are connected by this nice stretchy fabric in the middle. It's very comfortable. But what I have found is that unless you have an extremely symmetrical face, that's not going to help you. I find my nose always hits this lens. Everyone's face isn't identically symmetrical, but that's the kind of problem that you have with the headset that's made symmetrically, and your head isn't. The headphones themselves, you can't really get rid of them on the headset. I think you might be able to do something. I haven't started to hack it at all, but those headphones are actually pretty good for an over-ear type thing. Very adjustable. They swivel up, swivel down. You can adjust them any way you like, but at the end of the day, it's going to be an over, head headphone. As for comfort, it's really quite comfortable. It doesn't overheat too badly because most of the power is being done, or the power of the work is being done by the computer itself, not the headset. Headset is effectively just two displays. This triangle at the back is a tracking triangle, so when you turn your head round, it still can track your movements, which is kind of cool. The remote itself is pretty simple. If you can see the buttons on there, you have a back sort of home button, a select button, up, down, left and right. It's not what I thought, like an iPod thing. It's looking quite greasy, that's quite embarrassing. Never mind, moving on. You have a plus and minus for the volume, and you have like an Oculus button. It's quite nice to use. It's quite easy to find your way around when using the headset, because you obviously can't see what's happening when this is on. So you do get a bit of that weirdness, that you can't see things in front of you. You end up straining yourself to look through this gap down here on your keyboard and things around you if you're trying to have a drink or you're trying to have a smoke or whatever like that. This is the sensor. It's fairly adjustable, but it sits between my two monitors like that, you see, and it just tracks my head movements, and that's what you need to actually have the VR working. So some of the pros to this setup is kind of nice, but let's go through all those face to face, because I really don't like seeing my hands. It's kind of weird. I've done it before, but I feel like I'm talking with my hands and you can't see my face. So let's come back to me or you. I don't know. Let's just cut. So that's as quick as I can actually make it a look at the hardware you get when you spend £550 or dollars. Okay, so what I want to go through now is look at the pros and cons of the Oculus Rift itself, the meaty part of the review. Now, one thing I will point out is that the actual device itself is built really nicely. It's comfortable, it feels well built, it comes well packaged, it doesn't feel like it's been thrown together. One of the things I do really like is the fact that this fabric inside is incredibly comfortable. The lenses are good quality lenses. I mean, there does seem to be some weirdness when something's bright and it kind of flares through the lenses. What's that called? Oh yeah, lens flare. But it's actually applicable here because you're so close to the screens that this particular lens will kind of have a light ray thing going on. And although the actual tracking of your head is much better than the Gear VR, you still get that screen door effect that looks like individual pixels. It does disappear after a time, but that's for the cons list really. Now what I want to say about the pros for this, the comfort of this padding is it's not very absorbent, which is probably a good thing. I don't find myself getting too hot in it, unlike the Gear VR, which you can start to feel the heat coming through a little bit. For my limited experience with it, we've even tried ice packs and kind of cooks them because the phone's working so hard. With some models, other models may be available. But with this particular device, I didn't find the heat too bad. It was a little bit hot up top, but I've been using it for hours and hours on end, no problem. It basically, I mean, for the most part, it treats this as a separate monitor. So if your graphics card can cope with it, it's fine. I would say it's easy to set up, but it is a long-ish process. It's relatively easy. You can check on oculus.com whether your machine can actually use the Oculus Rift. And I actually think, I mean, it's a nice piece of kit. I want to put some eyes on it maybe, just to weird people out when I do some Let's Plays in the future. But who knows what will happen. It has some nice setup features, and the basic stuff you get from Oculus out of the box is pretty nice. All the cables seem good quality. I have not had any kind of issues with that. Like I said, I'm not using the wireless controller because I really am starting to run out of USB slots. So USB slots are a big thing. I've got a lot of stuff connected by USB, and the headset itself, I think it takes one USB and one HDMI connection. I'm not sure if it shows it on the box. No, it doesn't. But it's a USB 3. I think it's USB 3. Jesus, it must be. Yeah, it's a USB, but you need 3 USB ports for all the various bits and pieces. I'm pretty sure I only used two USBs and one HDMI. I don't know, I'm going crazy. But the actual connections, if you are running low on connections or don't have enough, if you're running a multi-monitor setup, maybe you have to think about, have you got enough HDMI outputs on your graphics card? Will it support that? There's lots of things to think about before you buy, because it's a lot of money. Now, it does feel like it's completely and utterly well built. As I said, it doesn't feel like it's going to fall apart at any single moment. It doesn't have a problem with fogging up. Not as much anyway that I've noticed that the Gear VR did. Because of the heat, it kind of makes your face sweat a little bit more. The perspiration will hit the lenses. With the Oculus Rift, it's fine. I don't have any issues with that at all. I have made a list of the pros and cons here, so let me just double check my list. Surprisingly good earphones, I have mentioned that. It does come with an Xbox One controller, which is, probably 50 quid on top of the price there. Now I want to get on to some of the interactions of VR before we go into doing some other Let's Plays in future. So one of the things that I have noticed is with VR you get what you pay for at the moment. There's not a lot out. Now the Vive probably has a lot more games available for it, I think. It's more of a gaming system, VR system. The Oculus Rift is chugging behind in my opinion, but the actual games you can get, some of them are phenomenally good and some of them are just average. So I want to go through those very quickly here, but before I do, there's just answer the elephant in the room for a lot of people, and that is a lot of people will get into VR for one thing and one thing only, and it ain't baking cakes, is it? It might be if you're good at stirring or whisking.
Virtual reality porn.
All I'm saying is it is out there, and it's a use of VR, as well as seeing shows from the front lines, going to festivals and being able to sit at the front row. All of that potential that I think VR can do, that's another potential. And as most things on the internet, porn's there first, isn't it? It was there first with spam, with fraud and stealing credit card details. All apparently, of course. It also is responsible for probably about 80% of the internet traffic on this planet. So I just want to say that it is out there, it's available, and it's another use of VR. Some of the games, as I said, their potential use is amazing. The first game I actually delved in and paid money for was Adrift, which is the most immersive game I've played yet on the VR. On VR, not on the Oculus Rift. It's available on other systems, I think. But it's a game where you are immersed inside you're actually inside an astronaut suit, you're waking up on a space station that's exploded, and you're using the controller to thrust around, but you are able to look around from inside your helmet. You have a HUD, and you have to keep your oxygen levels high, but it's basically finding out what happens, and it's kind of like a narrative story, but the visuals are so beautiful and it works really nicely. I had so much fun with that game. I probably played it for about 10 hours. Almost consistently. It was a game that I really enjoyed. It was just done really well. I was just brought into this world of VR thinking, now I've paid money, I've actually got a game that's worth, the money. And that game is only about 15 quid. So it's probably about, $20 maybe ish. But yeah, it's an amazing piece of gaming. It's for the VR, it works absolutely perfectly, and at that kind of point I think it's a bit of hit and miss. Some games for that price are amazing, some aren't, but we'll be going through some Let's Plays of the following, including Adrift, because I'd like you to see that on a Let's Play. The big game on the Oculus Rift store, for the most money anyway, is Eve Valkyrie. It's a space shooter, almost like a tech demo. It's got a little bit of progression in there, but it's effectively a shooter, and you're sat inside the cockpit and you can look around, and it's amazing. Most of these experiences are amazing when you do them the first time. Some of the free stuff you get, don't be put off on VR and think, oh, is that it? Some of the free stuff is good, but it's not great. Some of the film stuff they've done with like Deadmau5, with President Obama, there's videos on there, but they're not very high quality. It's actually painful to watch. So maybe in time that'll become a better thing. The 360 cameras will get better. I think really ultimately this feels like a early adopter disease for VR. If you get involved now, just be aware that there's not much there for you. The stuff is it's growing in its potential. But I feel like I'm going into cons rather than pros. Like I said, it's comfortable, it's well built, and the games that I have played on it so far have been fun. Platformers are a whole new thing now. You can actually play with something and kind of look at it on your desk. It's an incredible way to play the game. I can see it becoming really good for games like if they did a VR port of God of War. That would be absolutely incredible. I think that's perfectly possible with the PlayStation VR. Maybe not with the Oculus Rift because, reasons. Okay, on to the cons. Now, the Oculus Rift is not something that comes without its problems. The headset itself, it does require you, for a lot of games where you're moving your head quickly, to have this quite tight on the back of your head. It's not uncomfortable to wear, I will give it that, but this padding will give you a Kylo Ren face. So you will have a line that goes like this around your face, just like the helmet of Kylo Ren from Star Wars Force Awakens. It's you can manage with it. It disappears after a while. It's not uncomfortable when it happens, but I can imagine if I was doing this day in, day out, ages, I would probably start to have a kind of imperfection in my skin around my eyes. It's not kind of what you want. The other big con with this, apart from the price, which is quite a big con in itself, in more ways than one, is the fact that there is no way they give you to store this in a way that the lenses don't get dirty. It's a real big point. Now think about it. What's the flattest side you actually have here? Yeah. Now that on its own, you're going to put it like that on your desk. Those lenses are going to get absolutely filthy. So what I've had to do, apart from trying to work out how to get something that would maybe hang off it and not scratch the lenses or bust up the inside, was to build my own stand. I mean, look at that. It's a cranky old bit of wood with a peg in it. And all I do is I just have it so it kind of hangs on there like that. So on my desk, so you can see it, on my desk it's like that, so it protects the lenses. It takes up a lot of room, but it works, that's the main thing. So one thing to note is it's not made for storage, it's made for use. But there's no real way to store it after you've stopped using it. Now, what I said before, the increase in price from the Gear VR, which costs you £60 plus a mobile phone, is probably comparable price all-encompassing, but you still get the screen door effect when you're spending £500 on a piece of kit to use VR. Now, this is a pixel-restricted problem. You're looking at something that's made up of lots of pixels, but you're looking at it really closely. Things always don't look as good when you get close. I mean, look at my face. See, imperfections. But that's what happens with the VR setup. You're looking at stuff closer, and therefore it's going to show up more imperfections, and the individual pixels become clearer, and you have this screen door effect. And this screen door effect is the kind of thing that really does your head in. After a while, if something's not moving, and it locks, you can see the pixels. It is annoying, but what can I say? This is the early stages. Maybe it'll get better in time. Hopefully it will. I mean, just jack something to the back of your head and not have the problem to see through your own eyes. That would be the way to do it. Work on that, Oculus. I think my biggest con for this particular product is the fact that it's not accessible to most people. Unfortunately, I think the PlayStation VR will be the way to go for accessibility if it maintains a decent price point. £550 is just too much for one person to spend and expecting a massive amount of value back from. It's just too much. I mean, you can buy a budget PC probably for around that. Maybe you couldn't these days. I don't know what the price is. I haven't built one for a couple of years. You wouldn't be able to get £550 worth of value out of the Oculus VR, in my opinion. It's good, it's gimmicky, but there's just not enough software out there right now to make it worthwhile. I would say give it 6 months to a year before actually picking one up, honestly. If you want a VR experience, the Gear VR is not a bad way to go for an introduction. I mean, a lot of people will probably play it once, show their friends, go, oh, look what I've got, it's amazing. And then they'll put it back in a box and they won't touch it again. I mean, granted, that box is bloody nice. Okay? As boxes go, that's like an easy 9 out of 10. Love it. But I don't think people will continue to use VR I mean, I feel like I'm using it just to try things out because I want to see what kind of games and what kind of potential there is there. But it's not the one for me right now. If I could go back and do it again, I probably wouldn't buy it, if I'm honest. I like the fact I've got it, but I wouldn't buy it. Wouldn't recommend to anyone to buy it either. One of the things I did hear from Lee was the fact that glasses are a problem with the Oculus Rift. It seems to be quite cumbersome and quite tricky to get all set up. And that goes along with my thing earlier of saying that symmetrical faces don't really work with the Oculus Rift. If you haven't got a symmetrical face, everyone's face is not symmetrical. I know this. I know my face isn't symmetrical, but I find my head wants to have it in a certain way, and it just kind of, it touches my nose. It's uncomfortable. You get it just right. There's a lot of adjusting while you're in use of it, which is possible, but it's just annoying. You know, it doesn't feel claustrophobic. It just feels clamped because you're like this constantly. So lastly, just to mention the price again, I mean, we're not even getting the handheld controllers for this price. I know the HTC Vive is a lot more expensive when you get the controllers, but the touch controllers for the Oculus are not out yet, and what you're getting is effectively a couple of monitors, a sensor, and a remote control. I mean, when you put it like that, that's not a lot for your money, is it? It really, really isn't. Now, from the base of my stomach and my heart, I want VR to be successful because I think it could have so much potential in the world, but it's just not accessible. The internet works and has been massively successful over the last couple of decades because it's accessible to people. You know, whether you're a hipster in New York or you're a farmer in Africa somewhere, you can access the internet through a mobile phone, from a PC, from a MacBook, swigging your shitty coffee. You can get to it anywhere, it's accessible, and more importantly, it's bloody free to a point. But the VR isn't. The VR, you're paying for a device, you're paying for the privilege, so it won't reach the masses, it won't become things that will be really, really everywhere. It's one of those things that's just going to be... I really hope it doesn't become a gimmick. I really, really hope. At the end of the day, I want it to be something to be proud of, and I want it to be something that works and people get involved with. At the moment, it's still early stages. We can't tell. But 550 quid for what you get, I have to say, it's not worth the money. Get a Gear VR. It's made by the same company. I mean, another peeve, you can get Netflix, okay, on the Gear VR as an app that goes and you can watch it straight from there, but you can't get it on the Oculus Rift. But I can set up a virtual desktop, which cost me about £11. Thanks for that. And then I can actually watch it on a kind of a big screen. But come on, Netflix, just work with Oculus and get something sorted, please. Because, you know, that's kind of nice watching things in big screens. It's kind of cool. This might have been a really, really long video. I hope I've managed to edit it down to something half decent. So guys, that's my review of Oculus Rift. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm just spouting rubbish now. I'm rambling, so I'm going to stop before this becomes our longest video on the channel. But yeah, I quite like the Oculus Rift. I've had a good time with it. Personally, if it was half the price, I would be on it much, 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 much more. And I would probably tell a lot more people to get involved and buy one. At the moment, at the price point, it's a don't buy, really. It's too much money for what you get. Simple as that. But over the next couple of weeks, I'll be doing some Let's Plays of VR games, so you won't get to see all of my face. I'll be in a VR headset, recording them for you so we can enjoy them and try to show you some of the good stuff that we can do with VR and gaming. And if you like it, great. If you don't watch it. But please comment, like and subscribe, because we produce videos every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So yeah, that's all I got to say about that. But guys, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time. Bye. He threatened to set himself on fire, and his favourite chewing gum becomes popular again. Yeah, I'm not going to send big boys after you for that one.
He's like, fuck you, burn.
Right, I need another cop. Let's take the top one.
Yep. There we go.
Oh, right, okay.
Boxing nails.
Oh, it's two.